Radio Lomax, l'émission du 106.
At last, after titling your last album after yourself, pronounced GYASI, we know more about the origins of your name. Hang on, it's going somewhere. It's quite long, but I swear it's going somewhere.
Okay.
Your name GYASI comes from Ghana?
Yeah.
Okay. And it means beautiful or beautiful child?
Wonderful child.
Wonderful child. Magical child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As you may know, twins are still worshipped in Ghana as magical spirits. The firstborn is called Taye, which means the first to taste the world. And the second is called Kehinde, and he sends the first one as a scout to tell him if the world is okay. Like, can I go on stage?
Very interesting.
You know?
Very interesting.
Have you got a twin somewhere? Not on the physical sense, but a soul you feel attached to?
Wow. That is a brilliant question.
But way too long.
But I like a question I've never heard before. I didn't actually know that about twins in Ghana. So that's very, very fascinating. I mean, I certainly do. I mean, perhaps. I do know that my mother did almost have 2 children before me, but I'm an only child.
Okay. Yeah.
I was the only one that actually made it. So perhaps there is some sibling energy somewhere. But I will say I do feel, I do have a lot of connection with David Bowie. I feel a lot of connection with him in, I don't know, just artistically, perhaps. But I don't know if I'd call him my twin because we're certainly plenty different as well. So yeah, I don't know. Perhaps I do. It's something, I'm an only child, so the experience of siblings is not something that I have been, necessarily familiar with most of my life. Okay. I have very, very dear friends that are my siblings, equivalent, but they're not actually my blood siblings. So, but as a result, I have musical compatriots, like Jack White is another one that I feel a lot in common with, Jimmy Page, David Bowie. Those are kind of 3 that I feel, like if I met them, it would be a surreal experience because it would be like, I feel like I know them, I've known them for so many years and I feel like a kindred spirit, without having met them. So yeah.
Okay, fits the definition, my definition of twinship. That's exactly that, a shared spirit. Okay. So here come the good part. Obviously, you're done with introducing yourself. So you already knew at the time that you had much more to show. Like I'm introducing myself, but wait, hold my beer.
Yeah, right.
There's more to come.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the title, Here Comes the Good Part, it came from kind of just a funny story that my father told with one of his best friends who is basically he was my mentor when I was young. He's a brilliant musician, guitar player. He's my godfather, so he's like my dad's best friend. Anyway, they had many wild adventures when they were young, in high school and taking lots of substances and all of that, and hitchhiking. And they had this story where they were hitchhiking and they were in a car, and some random old guy picked him up, and they were like, riding with this guy, and all of a sudden he like turned up the radio really loud, and he was like, "Oh wait, here comes the good part," And I always thought that was just I don't know, that phrase, just that story. I thought it was a funny story, and it stuck with me, and I thought it was applicable in that way, and also as like here's more of what I have to say, and here's also you work at this career for so long. It's tough business. You have to be tough, and you have to pursue. You have to keep going. I started playing guitar when I was 6 years old, so it's like it's been a journey. So it's like here comes the good part. Like here's where finally, like I'm starting to get to where I thought I would be when I was like 12 years old. Thinking like, oh yeah, in 2 years all of them would be like touring all over the world. So yeah, I like that double meaning in it.
Okay. Speaking of business, were you able to enjoy all the amenities in Nashville? Because you know, of course, this city can become cruel because it's a business.
Yeah.
Nashville is
Yeah.
competitive.
Mhm.
So, in the time you've lived there, were you able to make connections, enough connections to become like a natural swimming in that?
Yeah, I think part of it is how different I am, you know? It's because it's such a country town, right? Country music coming out of every corner of every room at all times, which is like, well. And so, but also you have, Nashville's interesting because it has the resources that you would associate with like LA or New York, you know, these big cities, but it really, until very recently, felt much more like a small town. You know, it had this sense of community that was very different from like going to New York or something. So, you know, you just go out to the bar and there would be, you know, all these people that are songwriters or producers or musicians. You know, it was just like this community where, you know, if you just hang around, it was like all those people are right there. It felt very accessible. And so that was a huge draw for me, was that I can live here, you know, I can live here cheaply. You know, it's not as expensive, wasn't, especially when I moved there, it was not, the cost of living was much lower than like New York or LA. And also it had you know, everybody was there. And so, you know, and also I think the competitiveness, you know, I had been at Berklee School of Music, so I was kind of used to that. So it was still like, you have to find your own space. And, you know, I kind of liked that energy of like, everybody's here, like they're hungry, they're creating. It pushes me to work a little bit more. So yeah, I kind of embraced all of those things about it. And also the fact that I was not trying to just do country music or you know, I was doing something different enough that it kind of caught attention, I think, you know, because it was like, you know, oh, whoa, you know, like here's like this
Maybe
band, this theatrical rock band, you know, so I think it actually worked to my advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were shining as an individual in all the standard.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No wonder you have like people like RJ Ronquillo. RJ Ronquillo, a session musician. He worked like with.
Oh yeah. I know.
He's
Guitar
a YouTuber
player.
now.
Great
Yes.
guitar player. Yeah.
He worked like.
There's a lot of those guys there.
Ricky Martin and stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Lots of people like that here. Yeah.
Right, and that's where I met my band. You know, that's how, you know, because it's so full of musicians. It was like, you know, everybody, all the best musicians from their towns are moving to Nashville. So it was just a, you know, a place where I could find the people I needed in order to get my music out. You know.
Sure. Okay. Back to the album. You explore new ideas, textures, sounds on this one, and I have American Dream as an example. The build-up is like really gorgeous. Yeah.
Thank you.
The instrumentation is fresh. The progression is like.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my example of how your sound evolved. How can I formulate that? What were you waiting for?
Oh, good question. Confidence, I guess, and also I also had a brilliant co-producer with this record. So my first records I produced, I recorded, engineered, produced, and mixed. In addition to playing most of the instruments, I did everything because I didn't really have the network, you know, I just had all these ideas. And so I was like, I'm just going to learn all of these roles, teach myself how to record, teach myself how to mix, teach myself how to produce, figure it out to get it out. And so once I got it out, you know, then I met this guy, Bobby Holland, who's a great producer in Nashville. And I just met him at a party and he came to a show. And after he saw the show, he was like, hey, I think, you know, like I think I could really help you, you know, take the palette up. And so he mixed a song and it was a great mix, you know. I think I did a version of the mix, you know, I like mixed it myself like I usually would. And then I sent him the tracks and he mixed it and it was just like massive difference. It's like, okay, yeah. And so, yeah, we got together and I, we did some stuff that was more in the vein of what I had been doing. But I was really wanting to write on piano more. I wanted piano. And so, I initially brought in a few songs with piano, and we kind of, explored. I think, some of those songs, like we did an initial version where I kind of did it the way I was thinking. And then Bobby was like, okay, well, what if, like on American Dream, he was like, well, what if the first drum beat, like the first drums, is like a tiny drum kit, like a whole different kit. And then when it comes in, it's like, we'll record the big kit. So it was like, I never thought to record 2 different drum kits on one song. So it was things like that were really like, okay, wow, you can do. I was like, I never would have thought you could do that, So, just sort of. So it was very exploratory and very playful. And so, we did it that way. And then I was like, well, maybe saxophone could be cool. And he was like, okay. And like literally 15 minutes later, in Nashville, there's a great saxophone player comes over and in 2 takes does that, And then I was another thing, at Berkeley, I had learned string arranging, as part of my curriculum, and like tonal composition and counterpoint, which I really enjoyed, but it was like, a whole skill set. I mean, I had those classes and learned that stuff. So it's like, how can I, bend that skill set to my will and make it actually fit with what I'm doing, So I did some string arranging and, just buckled down and was like, I had things that I had thought in my head, but I didn't really feel like I had the resources to bring them to fruition. So I never even tried on the other earlier records. I was like more confident to like, okay, I'm going to arrange strings and then Bobby could take it and like mix it and make it fit in and sound right. So it was just feeling like I had the palette, the more colors. And so I started just slapping them on the canvas and seeing what worked. Yeah.
Okay. I could have taken, Apple Tree as an example too, even though it's not on the digital form of the album.
No,
I believe it's just like a gift.
It was just on the CD.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what we did. It was kind of like a B-side. It was just kind of an extra song. We kind of had the record and we were like, I have this song. And it was like, we wanted 12 and that was like the 13th. And I was kind of like, let's make it a B-side. And so and then at Alive Records was like, well, what if we just put it on the CD only? So it was kind of a hidden track. And then they suggested before this tour, like, let's put that out. I think that they were like, we think that deserves more of a release. So I was like, okay, yeah.
I discovered it through a French magazine. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
give me more.
Right. Yeah. And that was another one that was, piano. Yeah. Piano written first, and another one where it was kind of experimental, just messing around until it felt like, okay, this is interesting. I like this. Yeah.
Okay. And I have a last one for you.
Okay.
I see glam rock as one of the very first genres to embrace theatrics, backstories, incarnation on stage and on visuals, photos, whatever, TV. And nowadays, mainstream pop is all about that.
Yeah.
Like Taylor Swift, I don't know, The Weeknd, they love, they're a different persona, each album.
Mm-hmm.
What would be, for you, the ideal balance between showing yourself and wearing that mask?
The ideal balance. Well, I think it's one of the challenges that we face now, I think, is that with social media, you are expected to show so much all the time. Sure. You kind of have to as an artist. It's like required of you to break down all the barriers and show everything, which, there's a part of me, I mean, I understand the appeal in that and the connection with fans, and I enjoy that part, but there's also the part of me that loves the mystique of the rock stars, and so I mean we work with the times that we're given, and we kind of, hopefully there still is enough mystique to go around that it's not completely shattered by the social media element of it, but I think the balance for me is just, is the show, does it transport the audience? Does the work create this feeling of freedom, escapism, something that, expands people's minds? That's the goal. And so however much of your personal self is required for that or not, I think it's different for different people. I mean, I know, David Bowie, he was very character driven, and there were times in his career where he lost the boundary between his character and himself. I think that's a risk in it. But I don't feel like I'm at a point where I'm having confusion about that. Thankfully,
you seem very down to earth. For a robot.
Yeah. The technology's getting very good these days.
Sorry,
but I have my family and a very solid. I'm thankful that I'm well grounded. I'm not 18. Doing this anymore. It's like I've established enough of an understanding of myself that it's in, I think it's in good balance. But every new project brings new characters and new things. So yeah.
Okay. How are the newts?
The newts?
Yeah, the newts.
The newts are quite good, quite healthy. Last I checked in the spring back home, they were doing newt things, swimming in the ponds and I do miss them. I miss the newts. Definitely will be going back to West Virginia in April of next year to get my dose.
And do newty things. This
Correct.
joke sucks, man. Really, it really sucks.
Naughty newties.
Thank you for your time and your kindness. Thank
you so much.
And see you on stage.
Yeah, see you in just a little bit.
Exactly. Mic drop.
Le 106 on air.